I'm sure most of us who work in the media business can only dream of creating a property that could revolutionise an industry, create a paradigm shift in revenue, and build a set of franchises that could soon eclipse the value of the NFL. This week's guest on Here Comes Pod, Lalit Modi, did exactly that, and in this episode, he tells us how he did it. Lalit's business career started in his family's conglomerate, the Modi Group, and he took those skills and experience into the joint venture he launched with the Walt Disney Company. That brought him into contact with a host of incredible characters from Mickey Mouse to Michael Eisner, but also ESPN and the world of cricket broadcasting. Using that knowledge, and with a score to settle with Rupert Murdoch, Lalit joined the BCCI, the organisation that runs Indian cricket, and he transformed the market and arguably world sport by launching the Indian Premier League, already now the world's second most valuable sports league. Lalit and I talked about the lessons of working with Disney and creating the pay TV business in India with ESPN, the key success factors in the launch of the IPL, including the crucial role of the TV rights that went to Sony Entertainment Television, and how the growth of the value of those rights means that the IPL is destined to overtake the NFL to become the world's most valuable sports league. Enjoy! Well, Lalit Modi, thank you so much for being a guest on Here Comes Pod. Like many an English bowler, I will not be serving up bouncers today, just very gentle off breaks.
Okay, I'm used to bouncers though, but go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's English conditions, so we're going for something a little less frightening. But before we begin play, I always like to start with a fun question. And my question to you, to get the creative juices going, is if you could choose three players from the history of cricket who you haven't had in the IPL before for a team or tournament for T20, which three cricketers would you choose?
Wow, that's a good question. Nobody's ever asked me that question before. If they were to choose three players that would really be great for the IPL and for the youngsters today, definitely Sir Donald Bradman, Viv Richards, and Sir Gary Sobers. If you were asked before, I'd put Ian Botham in there, but for three, those three would be great for me. I mean, they would have really been remarkable in this day and age.
Yes, absolutely. Well, all good choices. I probably would have had both of them in myself, but I'm probably a little bit biased. When did your love affair with cricket begin, and were you a good player?
Actually, I wasn't a good player. It all began with television and sports, and I was very much interested in sports. Cricket actually was never my favorite game. It was always football. When I got into the television business with ESPN, when I was growing up in college in America, everybody was watching American sports, and it was broadcast in America and college every day. It was Monday Night Football, etc. And growing up in India, it was actually in those days hockey. It was field hockey, which was the national sport. Wow. But we go on to win the World Cup. And cricket became, in 1983, on everybody's television and everybody's mind. And cricket went on to become the leading sport in India. And it was because of commerce, economics, when I launched Disney in India and I launched ESPN in India, we had to have cricket. And so we learned a lot about cricket. I was never a good player. But when I was in boarding school, everybody who was on the cricket team got to have a great lunch. So you had to make it to the cricket team. So if I could make it to the cricket team, I made it to the scoreboard team. Because you were part of the scoreboard team, you were part of the cricket team. But you had to climb up these old-fashioned scoreboards where you had to manually change the numbers. And I remember we used to be climbing up there and you became part of the scoreboard team to have a good lunch. And in boarding school, that was a great thing. To be able to have a good lunch on a high table with the cricket team was the biggest thing. And so that was my indulgence in cricket, I would say.
And you mentioned your interest in football. Obviously, football or soccer, for the American viewers and listeners, is a massive global sport. But why hasn't it really broken through in India in the way that it's done in so many other places?
Football should have broken through in India, and it's such a simple game, just a ball, and it doesn't require anything apart from the skills to do it. I really don't know why football, out of all the sports, which has become a global. I mean, two countries that haven't, big countries that I would say haven't indulged in soccer is America and India. Maybe it's a culture. Americans had the baseball and the American football and ice hockey and basketball. And in India, we always had field hockey and cricket. Cricket was also actually never a major sport, but cricket went on to become a major sport. I guess it's a training, but football is very widely played in India in schools. And when I was growing up even, football was actually in boarding school when I was in Bishop Cotton and similar. And football was, and I was in another school, St. Joseph, it was in Nainital, it was football. That was the premier sport in schools and in India even. Cricket was there, but cricket required facilities, the pitch required the equipment, it was expensive. But football never actually took out, and I really don't know why.
You grew up in a successful entrepreneurial family. Do you think that environment helped you develop the skills and get the experience to become a success later on?
Without doubt. I think the Modi family business was so diverse and so many different fields. Growing up in that family and with my father and my uncles and my grandfather, the talk around lunch and dinner and was always about business ideas and how to make business successful. And we had to always innovate and innovate against everybody else. And so the Modi family innovated in bringing in foreign companies into India, and which my grandfather had a rule that if you wanted to partner with anybody, the Modi family would invest blindly with that partner, provided that partner was 1, 2, or 3 globally. And number 2 was ready to invest 50% in a business in India, and that business was needed in India. So the foreign partners would judge whether they wanted to be in India. And then we as a family needed to prove to them, against all other families that were trying to get into bed with them, that we had something to offer and why they should partner with us, whether it was our financial skills or our distribution skills or our marketing skills or opening up market skills or government liaison skills, because India was a closed environment and it was the licensed Raj in those days. And so we had to work with very innovative companies who were very innovative globally, and thus they were 1, 2, or 3 in their field globally. And so they were innovative in what they did. And each company taught us different skill set. And I was lucky enough to grow up in a family where we had 40 different joint ventures with multinationals around the world who all had a different ethos and a company philosophy and psychology and way to market their products. And so you learned a little bit here, a little bit there, and a little bit there, which normally going to school, colleges, or going for training anywhere, you would not get, because you would be in one particular culture and one particular discipline, and whether you're in accounting or finance or business, but you wouldn't get a spectrum across all different businesses. And all of those ideas, little bit by little, I was able to use. For example, the Modi family had a joint venture with Sotheby's, as an example. And there came up the idea of using the auction system for the first time ever in the history of sport, and to bring auctioning of players to find the right value of the player, because an auction house finds the right value of the product. And the buyer may want a particular price, the seller may want to buy at a particular price, but the buyer determines the price. And so if you're in a seller's market, the buyer decides. And if you're in the buyer's market, you still decide. So I said, why can't we apply those principles where you wanted every team to be equal? Before I get into that, I examined all sports in the world, and I examined every league in the world. And you saw a disparity between the top teams and the bottom teams in every league around the world. And you saw that the big teams were always getting bigger and had more money, and the smaller teams never had that. And they had the power to pay more, and so the players earned more, and so they were more successful, and they had a larger fan following. And I was trying to find a way, coming from a business perspective, and looking outward and seeing what did the advertisers want. The advertisers wanted even ratings. If they wanted even ratings, that means all games needed to be equal. That means all games need to go to a wire. That means all teams need to be equal. Now, how did you find that solution? I didn't know whether there was a solution. But the idea came up that if I use an auction system and had a limited purse system for every team, and they could determine what player to buy and not to buy based on his or her performance, we would be able to find a fine line. We didn't know it would work, and it did work, and it set a new standard in sport. And if you look at the IPL, it's probably the only league in the world or entertainment property in the world where all games are equal. Each game has viewership like every other game. So there is no disparity. I used to say in the old days, I remember in the 87 and 2007, when I launched the league, you're not watching an Aston Villa versus a Man United game. Okay? Today, if you compare that, Aston Villa is a great team also. I mean, but in those days, it was at the bottom of the league, and Man United was at the top of the league. And those ratings were different for an advertiser than today if you played a Man City or a Man U game, and you played those games had a different advertising rate card and had a different economics. And I wanted to find a solution to finding a balance between the two, that, and we found an amazing balance. But we didn't know we would find that balance, but we did.
So you mentioned joint ventures, and you actually launched a joint venture with Disney in the early 90s. Which Disney characters and types of content resonated with the Indian market?
Disney was a phenomenon. It was a joint venture that I did. It took me, from the time I signed the MOU to the final agreement, I made 97 trips to LA. And it took 4 years for the joint venture because they had never done a joint venture before. And I grew up with Disney characters. And who hasn't grown up with Mickey Mouse? And Mickey Mouse was the most counterfeit character in the world, probably. And so everybody grew up Minnie and Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. But Disney as an enterprise was an enterprise that was extremely innovative, from the characters going into your home as toys and then evolving into television series and then evolving into movies was complete game changer. And the way the company evolved and was run, it started with a character, Mickey Mouse, and then went on to the series, and then went on to into the movie business, was an enlightening experience and a journey. And so Michael Eisner, who I consider to be my true inspiration, and actually did teach me a lot of things. And a good friend of ours, Etienne de Villiers, was head of Disney Television worldwide, played a major part in everything that I did. That was probably my most successful venture that I would ever think about. And today, if you look at it, you sit back today and you're in 2026, and you look at the ups and downs of the Walt Disney Company in India. We started off very well. We bought in ESPN against News Corp, which was Rupert Murdoch, and Zee Television, which dominated the market. And we broke that market with ESPN and became number one. And then they consolidated, and the cricket rights got more expensive, and there was a bloodbath, and they were taken out of the market. And then your previous bosses, Sony Television, I bought in. So it's been an interesting journey. But Disney today is one of the largest corporations in India. It controls the market. It's a multi-billion-dollar company. It's the same company I founded way back in 1993.
And you mentioned ESPN, and that is obviously the part of the stepping stone into talking about cricket rights. But ESPN was a pay TV proposition at a time when there really wasn't pay TV in India. So how did you bring a pay TV proposition into the market, and how did you convince the guys at ESPN to change the way they thought about the world?
This was a difficult task. ESPN was an American corporation. Luckily, it was part of the Disney Corporation. So when I would visit LA, I was always looking to expand the Disney presence in India. And it was always whether we can foray into parks, to stores, into the movie business. And then there was ABC, ESPN. And India was opening up, market was growing. And I always said, why don't we try and launch a sports channel? And I was always knew that sports is something that will work. And I convinced ESPN, and they said, but we are a pay television channel. How the hell are we going to go into this market? We are not a free-to-air television business. So I took upon the task and said that if I were to open the market for pay television in India, would you partner with me? And they said, well, how? I said, well, I will go and find who these 80,000 cable operators are across India. Because nobody knew who they were. Nobody knew who the subscriber base was. But I had another business that I was in, which was the Philip Morris business, the cigarette business. And us, in those days, the primitive cable television business started with the Gulf War, with CNN coming and broadcasting live war into our rooms. And so an entrepreneur, who we call a cable operator, would put a dish antenna up in his backyard and would pull down the CNN signal and beam it to the home by putting wire from his office or his home to other buildings around him, and would then put a signal, that TV channel, into the homes. And then he started to add two other channels onto the system, and they were called the VCR channels in those days, where they would show newly released pirated movies, which became the number one viewed channel in India, where we only had Doordarshan in those days, a traditional state broadcaster, which had two channels, Doordarshan 1 and 2, which was very bad quality. And so you had these VCR channels, 1 and 2, which typically showed day and date release with the movie release in theater. Cigarette business needed advertising. I found that if we went to the VCR channel, which was the number one viewed channel, and we inserted advertising in those VCR channels on the videotapes, then we would get some kind of viewership for our cigarette product. That's what they were selling. And so I went to all these operators and I told my cigarette sales force, which was quite vast, thousands and thousands of people, if you see an antenna sticking out, go to that place and offer them money to show to their subscribers our ads based upon how many subscribers they had. So, and we pay them by check every month without question, based upon what they tell us they have. So what we did is started to rack up a database, and we collected a database of pretty much every household in India, which nobody else had. Now I had a database. I knew the operators were. We were welcome in his home or his business because we were paying him, and the homes were paying the operators. So I went to ESPN and I said, why don't we put a decoder box into all of these operators? They will welcome us in with open arms. Star TV had just launched, CTV had just launched, and everybody was free to air broadcast. They were all beaming their signals down, and the number of channels that was going out from these cable operators on a coax cable was quite large. But there the issue became positioning of the channel. If you're channel number 1, 2, or 3. And the VCR channel was always 1 and 2, and you wanted to be number 3. I said, if I put my decoder boxes in there, and you at the ESPN buy all the cricket, without cricket has never been bought. So in the old days, Prime Sports, which was the Rupert Murdoch Star Sports channel in the old Avatar days, would broadcast the cricket and keep all the money to itself and let the cricket boards make money on sponsorship. And so they're giving you viewership, so we will keep all the advertising revenue. And so that's what they did. And so they never paid for the rights fee to the cricket boards. It was negligible. So ESPN, under the notice of News Corp, Rupert Murdoch, went out and bought future rights of all the cricket boards pretty much. And on one fine day, we started to broadcast all our content. And one fine day, when the cricket rights started to kick in, we actually launched the product in 94, ESPN, and in 95 we encrypted the channel. I remember it was the Lord's Test on June first week in 1995, and we had all the data. All the operators welcomed our channel. They didn't realize what a decoder box was in those days. And see, most of them didn't realize what a decoder box is. They just thought it was a better quality signal coming down. The decoder box was key to lock the signal when you wanted to, and you could lock it by the operator, each individually. And having all the data about the operator, we now demanded all the operators to pay us an X amount of X cents per subscriber or X rupees per subscriber for giving the signal to them. And the only way we could do that is it was the India match. It was India versus England. And that's the day we decided we were going to encrypt the channel. And from next day, you got to pay us. Of course, there was a boycott by all the operators who ganged up against us. But we already knew that was going to happen because we anticipated what might happen. So we happened to own around the country small pockets of operators, which were under multitudes of companies, which you never could say that it was one operator. And we operated them with the idea that to break the deadlock. So when the deadlock happened in a particular city, let's say Bombay, in a particular area, the whole of Bombay city was blacked out. But we had pockets in Bombay city where we owned the operations. So if you were a subscriber to our operations, automatically you got the signal of the cricket. And the word spread very fast. And then when the boycott happened, we invited all the subscribers in the neighboring area because we were ready to wire them up. And when we started to wire, people thought we will fall apart, but we had thousands of people on the ground to do that. And city by city, we broke the boycott. And that's how pay television came into India. It's with ESPN going out there, and ESPN set the ball rolling. And we had a head start of many years before anybody could match us. And the only way I was matched up is by either stealing our data or stealing our people to copy our system. And there was a leak out there, and that's how it happened.
So, having exited the JV with Disney with a deep understanding of the power of cricket rights in the Indian market, you became a cricket administrator and ultimately joined the organisation that ran cricket in India, the BCCI. And you very quickly and very successfully renegotiated the TV rights for the Indian national team. Now, a guy called Ashish Nandi writes in the book The Tao of Cricket that cricket is an Indian game that was accidentally discovered by the British. The T20 format, a shorter version of the game, played over approximately 3 hours rather than 5 or 6 hours or even 5 days, was actually in fact created and then initially developed in England. And at the start, I think it's fair to say, was not particularly embraced in India. So what was the gap in the Indian market that you had seen when it came to this T20 format?
Interesting question, but I can't answer that question without answering why India had become a cricket market. And I got into cricket as an administrator because ESPN was taken away from me by Murdoch. He ganged up with Disney and took me out and didn't pay us for it. And I said, I need to find something and own something that Murdoch needs. And that led me to a battle with News Corp for years in courts and everywhere else, and ultimately led me to get onto the Indian Cricket Board to control the Indian Cricket Board rights. The Murdochs, by that time, used to run Indian cricket again after ESPN because they had taken it over and were paying a fraction of the fee, basically 10 cents on the dollar. And I, being one of the biggest advertisers with our tobacco company, apart from being a broadcaster at ESPN, marketing and selling agency for ESPN with Buena Vista Television, I knew every segment of the market. And I knew where the value lay and where the money lay. And I knew all the cricket boards were getting screwed simply and were not getting due what they should be getting due. So I took the broadcasting rights of traditional cricket, which is the one-day format, and the test cricket format from 40 million to 620 million overnight within 1 month of joining the cricket board, which was a huge quantum jump, mind you. I took the sponsorship revenue from a few 100,000 to hundreds of millions within a short span of a few months. I dominated the airwaves. I dominated the airtime. I dominated with the cricket board. We dominated every sphere of monetization. We had sucked out all the money from the advertisers that lay for sports or to address the Indian male consumption products. And cricket was a daytime product, and daytime money, all of it, 99% of it, was BCCI controlled. So when you ask the question where I found the gap in, when I was owning ESPN, I said we need to have professional sporting league. Indian cricket market was primarily bilateral cricket, nation versus nation. And everywhere else in the world you looked, sports was city-based teams, city-based franchises, leagues, which had huge fan bases apart from country. Cricket being so predominant in our country, everybody watched cricket, but Indian cricket. Indians love cricket, but they love Indian cricket. They don't love anything else but Indian cricket. We dominated Indian cricket. So I actually, in 1996-97, wanted to launch the Indian Cricket League, which was called ICL, which was the 50-over format, which I got approval to do so, and then the powers that be in the BCCI shut it down. So I actually was launching an 8-team format with ESPN as a broadcaster owning it. But we had evolved from 1996 to 2007. In 2005, I joined the cricket board and had become now the major broadcaster. We controlled all our broadcasting. We controlled everything. We had broadcasters like Nimbus who would broadcast our signal, but all the revenue was ours, pretty much, and they would get a fee for it. I moved that product then and said, where does the gap lie? The ICC had just announced a T20 World Cup, and I always had the fascination of launching a league. And everybody said, nobody watches domestic cricket. Nobody watches the Ranji Trophy. Why would they come and watch a Delhi versus a Mumbai game? We already had that format available in the long format, in the one days, and the test format. But here I saw the opportunity when the ICC announced the T20 World Cup in South Africa, which India had never played in, mind you. Something appealing, something that I foresaw as a daytime product that was launched as a nighttime product. Cricket had never played at night. And why did I think of it as a nighttime product? Nobody's ever asked this question yet. Simple reason is there was no money left in the daytime. As far as daytime was concerned, we had consumed all the money already with BCCI cricket. So I wasn't going to take it out from one pocket and put it in the other pocket. So I needed to find a whole new game format and a time slot. What could be better than a T20 format? A 3-hour format, quick, slam bam, cricket as they would call it in the old days. And when we launched, not true cricket, they would say, but I would say it was actually a great game. And this fits perfectly. But second issue that I had was cricket was predominantly a male-oriented game. 95% of our audiences was male. I needed women and children to expand into the night time because the nighttime time slots, which is your ex-companies, Sony Entertainment Television or Zee Television or Star Television, control the soap operas. The soap operas, which was where the major money sat. So all the brands that needed to advertise, all the advertising budgets were based upon the soap operas. And it was the prime time, and everybody was vying to have a new serial. What could be better if I could clip this in some way to overtake that? It's not easy to think this through. And every guru, marketing guru would tell you it's not possible to do so. And everybody did tell me. Every advertiser told me, every agency told me it's going to flop. But what was working in India in those days? Bollywood and cricket. Bollywood in the evening, cricket in the daytime. If I could find a way to marry the two together and make it extremely controversial, then we might have a chance of some success. So to sow the seeds, we needed to plant something that would work. So first thing first is to convince Shah Rukh Khan, who was the king of Bollywood, to buy a team. He couldn't play cricket. He's a football fanatic. Okay, he didn't know anything about cricket. So I said, don't worry about cricket. You just need to own a team. And then convince the oligarchs of India, the big businessmen of India, the most predominant people, to own teams. If we were able to succeed in doing that, We would do two things, I felt. I would get all the businessmen who have big egos to clash with each other, to wanting to win. They would pump in money, which we didn't have, to market their teams, number one. Number two is, if I bought Shah Rukh Khan, who would bring all his Bollywood friends to the games, they would be a tamasha there, and the cameras would pick it up, and the newscasters would pick it up, and hopefully there's something in there. As long as we have amazing cricket on the field, and we had amazing tamasha outside the ropes, we may have something to hang our coats on. It was a gamble. It was a big gamble. But we looked at and researched every angle of it. And we found that let's hit the 8 o'clock time slot. Not 7:30, but we started with the 8 o'clock time slot in India. That's when the housewife or the mother has finished cooking and has control of the remote control. But she likes Bollywood. If we had gossip out available and we had something controversial and she could see reality TV playing out before our eyes, unscripted, maybe we can attract them. Maybe we'll attract children. We will attract women to come to it. And we put cheerleaders in there. We put music in there. We put song and dance, put fireworks, and we make it glamorous. And going to the stadium became glamorous. The food was good. The bathrooms were clean. The environment was friendly. And it was at the holiday period of the school time. And it's an outing for the kids. And the parents would take. We said, if we were able to conceive each and every element, and when you put a project together, you have like 50 elements, and you benchmark hitting 40%, 50% each one of these elements, we would have a home run. We hit 5,000% on every element. So it was a completely out of the park hit that we did. And so everything that we did worked. But we hadn't sold apart from the first day's ticket, we hadn't sold second day's ticket. If it wasn't for the first game that we scripted between Shah Rukh Khan's team, Kolkata Knight Riders, and Vijay Mallya's team in RCB in Bangalore, who was the biggest showman, party man, it was purposely done that it would create the buzz in the market. And then we had a media backlash. And so we banned the media from attending. And so there was a whole controversy going on. And it was done because we wanted it to happen that way. It was scripted to happen that way. And luckily they took the bait and it happened. And Brendan McCullum goes out and hits that 158, I think it was, on the opening day. And the other thing was, we had this company called Sony Entertainment Television who had the rights. But they didn't have the distribution. And they bought exclusive rights. And I decided to make them non-exclusive the day we opened. So your ex-boss, I think Andy Kaplan is his name. He probably has sleepless nights because of me. I decided that I'll open the signal. And to his benefit, which he didn't realize, because he thought he had bought exclusive right, which he did. And like I controlled the button and the key, Sony was not available all across India. It was predominantly a northern-based channel, Hindi-dominated channel. It wasn't available in southern India and eastern India. The languages wasn't compatible. But they bought a general entertainment channel, had bought cricket rights, which didn't have penetration across India. So I needed the penetration across India. So I opened the signal up. And I allowed everybody to steal the signal. And then Sony said they would sue me for it. I said, go ahead and sue me for it. That's tomorrow. But today we'll open the signal. It was the best thing we could have done, because that allowed Sony Entertainment Television to become pan-India on day one. If I hadn't opened the signal, it was only available to its core base, we would have never had the success that we did today or the next day. And because we were able to be seen across India by opening the signal, and allowed every television channel in India to steal the signal, because I wanted everybody to watch the signal. And we said, we'll shut it off the next day and let the Sony sales force go in and sign up every operator. Once they've experienced it, once the consumer has experienced it and has tasted it, if they don't taste it, how are they going to get addicted to it? And that we learned from where? From that cigarette business. What is our business? Addiction. So if you don't addict people to it's addiction, nicotine is addiction. Whether we like it or we don't like it, it is. But they have ways to do it, and ways they were able to promote it and sell it. Television is again addiction. cricket was an addiction. So if you were able to addict people to watching this new format with all its glory and its glamour and the best of the cricket on the field with the best of the players playing against each other in a 2020 format, in a 3-hour format with the under lights for the first time in colored clothing and with the song and dance and the fireworks, we had a great chance of success if we were able to show it. And I wouldn't going to risk not showing it.
Well, I can probably attest to the impact that you had on my Sony colleagues, whether it was Andy or Michael Grindon or any of the others, because what was happening with Sony Entertainment Television and the cricket was something that everybody, including all of us in the London office, were very aware of. I guess the media rights component of the IPL and the way that you'd structured that was another key part of the success. So can you talk through how you put those media rights together and how you changed the model?
When we put the first media rights package together, I needed $1 billion over a 10-year period. Why did I need $1 billion? I needed $1 billion because I told all the team owners that they'd get whatever they paid for the team, minimum back. So if you were to stretch the media rights over the 10-year period, I needed in year one a $60 million package. I had a production cost about 12 million. We had 8 teams. The share of the teams was 80%, 20% was the BCCI share. So it came to, if the minimum bidding price was 50 million, that is 5 million a year, I needed to have minimum 40 million available to me. So you took out the BCCI component of 12 million, 8 million production cost, you were left with 40 million. So I needed that to be stretched going forward, which would ultimately become a total of $1 billion. We didn't know whether it would work or not work, but that's what we needed to make. So it was always, we had to have the players to get Sony to be interested. It wasn't Sony who bid for the rights, by the way. It was World Sports Group who bid for the rights. Sony wasn't ready to take a punt on it. So Sony pulled out their bid at the last minute. ESPN bid but wanted a joint venture, and so they had a revenue share model. So we had no bid except for World Sports Group, which was a media rights consolidator who would sell it to television channel. So they partnered with Sony for the rights, and Sony only initially bought the first year rights with an option to renew for subsequent years, provided we met a certain rating, which was a 5.5 rating in year one. So they agreed to pay the 60 million, which was not even 60 million, or 59.9 million. They didn't go to 60. Their boss, Andy Kaplan, wasn't ready to put the 60 number in. I agreed to 59.9. It got me where I wanted to. It got us off the ground. I wasn't so concerned about year 2, 3, or 4. I was only concerned with year one, as far as I was concerned. If we didn't do year one, there was no year 2. If we didn't have the 10-year number, I wasn't able to sell the teams. So to sell the teams, I needed a number. And it was a one-sided agreement. BCCI favored. You got to sign in the dotted line. You're on the hook for 10 years. But I told them, everybody privately, if it doesn't work in year one, I will shut it down myself. So you have a risk, as the owners are concerned, of my minimum bid price, which is 5 million, 50 million. Anything over your bid, that's your ego call or your call. But that's what I'll guarantee you back. So if you're paying me 5 million, I'm going to pay you back minimum 5 million. So you have a player cost and you have some infrastructure cost, but everything, which is a small amount of change.
Not the stadiums, those were provided.
We provided you the stadium, we'll provide you the manpower to run it. If it works, who knows where it'll go? We didn't know ourselves, tell you the truth. But if it works, it works. And if it doesn't work, we shut it down. And that's what we did. And it worked. Then became the problem, as you said, why we consolidated. Sony, of course, exercised their rights for the second year. But we had a clause in there. The clause was 5.5 rating. We achieved 5.4 rating. Okay, so Sony said, we will renew with World Sports Group, but at a lower price. So now, first year was 59, they said, we will give you 60 million in year 2. I said, you can't give me only 60 million in year 2 when we have made such a big success. Sony had booked $150 million of advertising for year 2. So they were going to milk it and not pay the owners and the BCCI for all the hard work. And they didn't take the risk either. They had a limited risk and they made a lot of money in year 1. And now they wanted to be greedy and go to year 2. So I said, okay, fine. I can find a way that you may have breached the contract. I can always find a breach. So either you take the price up to 80 million, I said, and they would refuse to. So I thought I will find a breach, and I found a breach, incurable breach. Once it's an incurable breach, I'm not no longer required to renew the contract. What is the incurable breach? Sony had got so greedy in year one that they would cut out the last ball over, and it was incurable because they would be running more advertising. We found that they were running 2,200 seconds of advertising when they should be 2,000 seconds in an advertising in a full game. So they were making hand over fist money. We didn't know what it was, but now we were able to calculate. So I decided I'm going to rechange the format completely, and I will not sell future rights, but I will sell secondages in my game. And so a typical game was 2,000 seconds. And now you had the right to buy 2,000 seconds of advertising in an IPL game. And we said now, but they're selling a lot more. So what do? Let's increase the secondages. How do we increase the secondages? Strategic timeouts, which gave me another 600 seconds. So that was 2,600 seconds of advertising time. So I took the number up. It's kind of a long story. A lot has been written about it. I've said a lot about this already in the past podcasts. We took the price up to 2.4 billion from 1 billion going forward. And now it's just the next cycle, which is going to be 2027. It's going to be a very interesting cycle. Everybody thinks that the market is consolidated again and that Jio and everybody is ganged up as one. Again, I keep telling everybody, there is nobody who can consolidate. The consumer is a consolidator. The consumer is going to watch the product wherever it goes. And I'll say it again. This is the single biggest question on everybody's market now. What are the next media rights going to be? I'll tell you now. It'll be higher than anybody can ever imagine. The OTT market is going to go 3x. The television market is minimum 2x of what it is today. So you're looking at multi-billion-dollar yearly contract for IPL media rights. Simple as that. Why? If you look at the numbers that we did in OTT with Jio in the last season, is over 350 million subscribers at 200 rupees per month. You're going to 94 games, and we sell per game. Number one. Number two is 94 games. So you're going to go to basically 4 months of subscription revenue, which has never been factored into IPL rights till now. Number two, the OTT market is your telephone market. That's already going to go to 600 million subscribers. Even if you take that at 1,000 rupees, it's $10 at the end of the day. $10 at 500 million subscribers over a period of 4 months, 5 months. I'm taking the total price. I'm not taking per month price. I'm taking it over the season. If a subscriber was to pay $10 even, or even $5 over the whole season of IPL for an OTT subscription, for an IPL, all 94 games, which is a great buy, and can simulcast it in all television and its computer and a mobile phone, you're looking at a media right anywhere between $4 to $5 billion a year. Now, if you translate that back per game, it's going to $70, $80 million a year. It would be probably the most well-priced sporting league in the world. We will outrank NFL by now, and we should, with the population of our side and the advertising market of our side. And you will see that happening. You will see the OTT market for the first time in the world overtaking the television market. And you will see our market exploding into probably 60 languages, 70 languages, customized feeds going out. And today the cost of production has gone down, cost of filming has gone down, cost of broadcasting has gone down. You don't need a satellite dish to pick up the signal and bring it down. You can bring it down through data. And you will see many more players getting into the market. If you look at the valuation of Jio today, I would say the valuation of Jio is primarily based on IPL. Large factor, of course, it's to do with everything else, but the data business is primarily IPL. And you need to have IPL as an advertiser in your advertising mix. You have to hit, it's the summer season, it's the holiday season, it's a new brand launch season. So every advertiser in trying to hit Indian consumer must advertise on IPL. You need to be a sponsor of IPL. So automatically, as a viewer, you will be watching IPL irrespective. So it is the number one product in the market. There is no number two close to it. So you will buy IPL as a consumer as an advertiser. You will buy IPL as an advertiser. So, as IPL as a seller, it's the only platform available today. Unlike anywhere else in the world, it's the only platform. Every game is a Super Bowl, 40 times the Super Bowl. Every game is 30 times the World Cup finals. So why wouldn't you only bet on the IPL? And so you will see it only grow and grow from here. And that's why I think that the IPL has carved itself a niche in a marketplace where you don't need foreign advertisers, foreign broadcasters, foreign anything. It is domestic. We can even do with domestic players now. It is so big and it becomes so good and has generated so much of talent across the board that it is an economy by itself. And it is India's number one prized brand globally and will continue to grow. So today you see sports is number one. You can watch a movie tomorrow. You can watch a movie in a theater. You can watch it on your telephone. You can watch it on a video, or you can watch it or streaming it. But you've got to watch a live game live. Once the result is out, it's out. And there's nothing better than that. Today, that's why you will see cricket stars are bigger than Bollywood stars. Today, cricket stars are probably the biggest stars across India. They earn the most. And you will see salaries of cricket players going up to next cycle onwards from 2029, 30. I would see the top cricket players earning $1 million a game. Now, this will again change the entire paradigm of cricket worldwide. A player has 105 days of life playing bilateral, county, IPL, and any other sort of league around the world. 80 days or 85 days are consumed in bilateral ICC. And for that, a top player outside of India, in any country, would be lucky to earn $1 million for the whole year on a central contract. But a player playing for the IPL, who's the top player in England, for example, and he plays at the IPL, he gets central contract with the English Cricket Board to give 85% of his time and 85 days of his time and gets paid $1 million. He's going to get paid $1 million a game. And if he plays 14 games for the IPL or 15 or 16 games in the IPL, he's going to make $15 to $16 million a year going forward. While you will see the ratings of bilaterals go down, which you will see anywhere in the world. ICC ratings are going down, and only domestic leagues are going up. And out of the domestic leagues, as I said, Indians love Indian cricket, and they love their game. So the Indian teams are only going to go up. And if we are just 17, 18 years old now, 18 season now, we are a brand new league still, and relatively to the sporting world worldwide, you will just see the fan bases going up, merchandising revenue going up. So it's just, we've just hit, I think we're just getting into a whole different paradigm shift.
And would you see services like Netflix, like Amazon Prime Video, all of them?
I can't see. If Starlink was to make a bid into the Indian consumer and go direct to consumer, which I would think they would sooner or later, which I thought YouTube would have tried to do it many years ago with Meta, and they didn't do it. Amazon, Netflix, Apple, any other player who a telecommunication company or a data company who wants to be out there garnering subscribers for any of their businesses, this is the ideal platform. You own the IPL. You pump down anything down that pipe. Once the pipe is into the home, that means the subscription is into the home, and somebody is subscribing to the IPL. You have the database, you have the information, you can pump anything down to them. So that consumer, that database of the 400, 500, 600 million subscribers that you will garner directly is not being factored into any valuation yet. And that valuation will come back to the IPL and to the owners of the IPL, and they will benefit from it. So all these companies that want to pump Netflix down or Apple down or Amazon products down, and they are the pipeline for all of the entertainment content, they can't do it with football. They can't do it with any other product. But to hit the Indian consumer and to get that 500-600 million subscriber base, no other place but IPL. So if Netflix was the number one game in town, it's globally about 300 and some odd million subscribers. Can you imagine if they bought IPL, what would happen to them? Their market cap globally would go up by how many billions of dollars? So for them to pay X billion dollars for IPL is a fraction of the money. So I would be shocked if none of these players came in. I would bid for it myself if I own Netflix tomorrow morning.
So we're talking about an IPL that's been incredibly successful, but there was a lot of adversity along the way, a lot of big challenges, not least that in, I think, your second year, because of the Indian election cycle that coincided with the tournament, you weren't given the guarantees that you needed on security to be able to play the tournament in India, and you had to move the tournament to a completely different country and do that successfully. Was that one of the most stressful moments in your IPL career?
It was the most stressful period in my career, but it was also the most, I would say, my most successful time in my life. For me to have been able to move 10,400 people across continents overnight and stage an IPL in 28 days, in 20 days, 18 days, in fact, 18 days in a whole new continent and make it a success on day one. And back showed that we were able to transport it across continents into a whole new geographic and make a business out of it and make it successful. So IPL, as I said, was recession proof. And I think there's nothing that can hit it. Similarly, there's nothing can hit global soccer, nothing can hit NFL, NBA, nothing can hit the IPL because our consumers are so hungry for it and it delights them. It gives them a sense of delight and also it just brings so much into their lives.
So in the picture of Dorian Gray, Oscar Wilde writes that every effect one produces gives one an enemy. To be popular is to be a mediocrity. I think you've probably used controversy and conflict in some ways to drive your business success and the success of some of the properties you were involved in. But in the long run, was that controversy something that came back to bite you a little bit in the way your relationship developed with the IPL and having to leave?
Bound to happen. Game is bigger than anybody. I always said IPL is always recession-proof, people-proof, and of course you're going to build enemies. We were used to a system where everybody had handouts and backhands and things like that, and I was completely a no-nonsense type of a go-getter. And to make it successful, I had to burn a lot of bridges as far as I was concerned. But a lot of people were hurt. A lot of big people were hurt. A lot of media companies were hurt. And so they went after me. And so be it. If I had to do it again, would I do it again? Absolutely. I wouldn't change anything I did. And everything had a reason for it. And if I hadn't done what I had done, I wouldn't be where I am. And the IPL wouldn't be where it is. It is the controversies and the downside and whatever it came with only strengthened it to overcome all of this. And today we are stronger than ever. So whoever may run the IPL, or it can remote control. I mean, it has become too big for anybody to bring down or do anything with it. It will always remain as the foremost property in the minds of the people of India.
Talking about India and going back to Ashish Tandey and the British accidentally inventing new formats, it seems the British have tried, the English have tried yet again to invent a new format called the 100 and recently had their auction, so using similar structure that you brought to the marketplace, to share or sell shares of some of those formats to other investors. You've been pretty critical of the 100 and the way that's been put together. What have the English Cricket Board done right and what do you think that they've done wrong?
Simple question. Do you know what the 100 is? I'm asking you the question.
I do know what the 100 is.
What is the 100? According to you?
It is a short form game of cricket where there are 100 balls bowled and whoever gets the most runs wins.
Okay. Did you know how many balls in an over?
There are 10 ball overs, I think.
No, it can be either 5 or 10. So you don't know what it is. Now,
I'm an old school cricket fan. You see.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
You're an old school cricket fan, so is everybody else. An over is 6 balls. Number one. People are waiting for the last ball. Now, you can decide to have a 5-ball over or a 10-ball over. Now, what is the impact on the player? Impact on the bowler, on the batsman, on the captain, on the end overs? Is it going to be 5 balls? Is it going to be 10 balls? The pressure on everybody, number one. Number two, the kid sitting in his living room doesn't know the rules of the game. So are you going to reteach them the game? So you got to rebrand the game, reteach them the game. The people in England don't know what the 100 is, leave alone people internationally knowing about the 100. Now you're thinking at the ECB, because you don't want to be in the shadows of the IPL, that you created a new format. But somebody has to play that format outside you. The ICC doesn't play it. Nobody else plays it. We did the T20 format because it was an ICC format. Nobody else plays it. Nobody else is teaching the games to the kids. So nobody's teaching the games to the people in England. It's not played in schools in England. It's not played in colleges in England. It's not played in sporting fields in England. Just because you, as a county championship, have decided that you're going to have something called the 100. And of course, you're going to entice people to think it's going to be a premier tournament in the month of August, and that everybody's going to come and watch it. Before you know it's over, 3 weeks, 4 weeks in a month, no time to promote it. And you think globally people are going to watch it? Why? Simple as that. Question is why? And how much money are you putting into promoting it or teaching it? And people knowing about it. A young kid in a village in India, does he know what 100 is? No. Will he care to learn about it? No. Indians love cricket. They love Indian cricket. So all these people who are invested in the 100s, I'm telling you right now, they're all going to cry. They're all going to be out of pocket. They're all going to be bankrupt. And 100 has reinvented itself 3 times already. It's tried to reinvent itself with new owners. Owners don't sell cricket. Cricket sells cricket. If the players don't know how to play the game and the rules have changed, who is going to watch it? If the viewers are not going to watch it, how are you going to take this game to a new level? Simple as that. And if you don't have the top stars in it, as far as the Indians are concerned, it's not going to be shown on Indian television that is going to make a mark on it at the end of the day. And that's what worries me more than anything else. So if I was the English Cricket Board, I would have done the T20, got rid of the, what is it called, the bash? Not the bash, that's the Australian, the short format that you have it out here. Blast.
Yeah.
Blast. You can't have 2 short format games running in the same market. I would be surprised if they had more than 20%, 30% occupancies in the seats. And if you look at if I look at the viewership data, I would be surprised if they got a single rating. In a 1-point rating, I'd be shocked if they got a 1 point. Is anybody going to buy subscription on Sky for the 100? I can tell you right now, none. So that's why it's packaged with everything else. I mean, English cricket is great, but it's English cricket. So I don't think the 100 is going to work.
And so what's next for Lalit Modi when it comes to the world of sports?
Well, we have to see. It's it's becoming extremely smaller world, and it's becoming very difficult to penetrate into a new sporting product. And we're toying with a few ideas, but nothing concrete yet.
And finally, just one extra fun question, which I always like to pose right at the end, which is, if you could run any sports club in the world, which one would you choose?
Of course, it would be a football club. If you look at the fans around the world, which are the most passionate, and it's a toss-up between Barcelona. I love Barcelona. I don't know why, but I love Barcelona, the team, which I think got great places to go to, and an English football club like Man City or even Liverpool, which have amazing rivalries. And a lot can be done.
Well, Lalit Modi, thank you so much for being a guest on Here Comes Pod. I promised you very gentle off breaks, and I think that's what I've given. But you've dispatched them like Yuvraj Singh hitting 6 sixes in a T20 over and provided just as much entertainment. So thank you for being a guest.
Thank you for having me on your show.